those two things are the first things you ever look at when you want to start thinking about automation.
A huge number of what I call techno peasants.
If you're afraid of training people and what happened when they go away, you should be more worried what you're going to do when you don't train them and they will stay.
Hello. So, hey everyone, and thanks for joining us. And I guess there might be people joining us during this. So, as Tom says, let's go. I'm Chris. For those that don't know, Chris Parjaszewski, CEO of ConTech by MindPal, and this is actually our second webinar. So yeah, more people are coming every edition. So we're glad. Today we want to talk about challenges for manufacturers that are dealing in one way or another. So we're gonna talk about skilled people, and also at the same time we're gonna talk about like what about the systems that are running the factories, and how much of the systems are actually digitized and how are still living inside the heads of people operating them. Also, it looks like the manufacturing is that industry that's pretty slow to adopt new technologies. So you can see like faster adoption in finance and a couple other industries, but yeah, it sounds pretty tough for factories and manufacturers to really adopt like all the, sometimes we even call it buzzwords. So without longer ado, we have great three guests that join us. And Skillworth, and he spent, believe it or not, more than 50 years studying workforce development and helping the organizations understand skilled labor shortage. So that's great to have you here. We have Marek Ostafil. He's a deep tech entrepreneur. Okay, so once again, Marek, deep tech entrepreneur, lecturer, and advisor working in industrial automation, IoT, and operational continuity. And I guess there is more, but Marek, welcome.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It's a great pleasure.
Thank you. We have Stanley. He's a director of business development and at Jendamark Automation. Stan works directly with manufacturers on digital assembly systems and the transformation on the shop floor. So Stan, thanks you for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah, so with the introductions, we're gonna jump into our first section, which is the workforce. Mm-hmm. And with that, question to you, Ed. So let's state there's a labor problem to make it short. And it means manufacturers are spending more and more money on, trying to hire people, but they cannot always fill critical positions. And oftentimes they also hire someone, and that person just stays in the business for just a few months, and they leave, or they just jump to another role, which is frustrating. And you've done a ton of research, and your research suggests that it's not simply just it's not a temporary labor market cycle. We may be dealing with a basically long-term shortage of around 2 million workers. So question is how do we solve this? Can you provide more context on the problem, but then how do you see any solution that's tangible and realistically out there?
Yes, right. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Fine. Well, first of all, you're right. Right now, there are 500,000 vacancies in manufacturing across the U.S. That could grow to over 1 million by 2030 and 2 million by 2033. In fact, right now, about half of CEOs in the U.S. see the shortage of skilled labor as one of the chief, if not the major problem they have in expansion, particularly if they want to start using AI in robotics. And of course, the other issue is small businesses that make up half of the economy of the U.S. Those businesses are even in worse shape over 50% of owners of small businesses simply cannot find the necessary skilled people. Here in Chicago, we had the largest concentration of small manufacturers in the United States in 1960. That now has shrunk tremendously. Part of the problem is people retiring. Large numbers of baby boomers have left the US workforce, and this is true in Europe, it's true in Canada, it's true worldwide. However, it's also the problem of a much smaller number of people now entering the workforce, either from secondary or post-secondary schools. We have been looking at this for many decades, and we've been trying to help communities to deal with this problem. Right now, we have in the United States over 105 million Americans have dropped out of the workforce. Now, a large part of that are retirees, 55 years or older. However, right now, there are 34 million Americans age 18 to 55 who are not in the workforce. Part of the problem is that, one, companies do not want to train. Most American businesses today will only hire someone who is quote unquote job ready. This is a huge change from the mid 90s. 40% of companies in the US had training departments. Most of those departments are gone. All right. Now, on the other side of the coin is another troublesome statistic. A third of Americans coming out of high school in 1970 had 12th grade reading and math skills, that level of literacy. And that was very sufficient in 1970 to provide the basis of a skilled workforce. Since then, things have dramatically changed. Bill Gates, with the earlier PCs and cell phone revolution, and then now AI. We're in the fourth industrial revolution. Unfortunately, today, only a third of American students coming from out of high school have the reading and math skills to fill these jobs, whether it is in skilled manufacturing, it is in other professional areas like accounting or building airplanes for Boeing, being an electrician. We have a severe shortage of enough young people. Only 45 or 45% of high school seniors were 3 or 4 years below grade level in math. So companies have a problem not only of not having enough people, but the other issue is even more sufficient. And that is we have a growing shortage of workers who are trainable into jobs. There are major manufacturers today who I deal with who have huge training departments. They cannot find enough people that can pass the literacy test in order to be trained, or they put them in training and they cannot read the materials or do the math. They put them on the assembly line building sophisticated products. They make mistakes. This is a systemic problem. This is not just an issue of technology. It is also an issue of providing the necessary levels of competency. We are creating in the United States, we have created a huge number of what I call techno peasants. This is also true in other countries, Canada, across parts of Europe. The technology has outraced the capacity and willingnesses of societies to upgrade their educational institutions. Now, people say AI will do it all. You don't need to read. You don't need math. Well, I take great exception to that. AI can do great things. Robots in factories can lift huge amounts of material, sort stuff. However, we're not talking about jobs. We're talking about skills. So yes, robots can do wonderful things. They can't make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. They do not have the dexterity and the physical reasoning to do this. And a robot cannot take a phone and connect it like I just did. It requires a number of skills, mechanical and intellectual, to do this. So what we saw in the 1980s and 90s, where I was actively working in doing job analysis and helping companies to figure out how to use those technologies to improve productivity, finally happened in the first 2000s, the first decade. We saw American productivity jump. Now AI is offered as this big solution in manufacturing, and it is a help. It can do many things, but it is specific skills. So we cannot just throw technology into manufacturing and expect tremendous productivity. Ultimately, yes, once job analysis is done and you match the skills that are needed, because now it's the workers who will use AI as a tool and use the robots. So Amazon can lay off all of these people in warehouses, but now they need people who can program the robots, manufacture the robot, or repair the robots and manage the robots. And all kinds of new skills will be created by Amazon that do not exist yet, new jobs. This has occurred in as a historical economist, I can go back to the 19th century to now, and I can say that this happens each time. AI in the end will produce tremendous improvement in productivity, but it will take time. The analysis work needs to be done. The strategic planning needs to be done. It will take time to do it. Companies need to invest in their human capital. They need to invest in this analysis work to better use this current fourth industrial wave of AI tools to increase productivity. So that's what's going on. This is a systemic failure. It's worldwide. It affects China, India, Germany, France, the United States, Canada. It's not just an American problem. We will deal with it once the culture adapts to it and realizes that we need to make these investments.
Gotcha. Thank you. I have a follow-up question on the experienced people, this time to Mark. So at points like when one of your experienced hires operators just retires or leaves, the company loses not just 2 pairs of hands, they're losing 20 or 30 years of practical experience. And it's about everything that happens in the business, in the plant, how to handle different, early warning situations, and not just a happy, optimistic path, that actually how to deal with problems and recurring problems, how to solve them. So, from your experience, like the plant leaders, what they should do these days if they have open roles for say months and they couldn't fill those roles, like what do you think the solutions? And the question to Mark.
Okay, well, first of all, I couldn't agree more with Edward about all these challenges that we have, and especially what we are facing with AI. And but answering your question, well, I put it this way. Obviously, Europe is a little bit in different situation, US in a different, and China yet a little bit, although we all share similar challenges. But from my experience, especially working with Far Asia, with Taiwan, with Singapore, with Japan, and with many partners of Europe, which obviously each European country has its own challenges. So Germany is very different from Poland and from Italy and Spain and so on. So we could also grind into more details on how each country responds to these challenges. What are actually the solutions, systemic also solutions. I will try to generalize it a little bit from at least Central Europe perspective. Well, we are in this very fortunate situation that although we have great shortage, I mean, actually we are starting to face the great shortage of people. The one thing that we did a couple of years ago, we kind of restored, let's say, the technical education, which was abandoned for many years, because then the concept was, okay, let everybody be have a master degree or PhD, and let educated, all the highly educated people and the study. And then we completely neglected, the secondary schools, the vet trainings, and this area. And then we found out, I think 5-7 years ago, that leads nowhere, right? And especially, we are also kind of taking the advantage or benefiting from coming relatively late into new technologies. So we had a much shorter way, and we also were under extreme pressure to catch up with Western Europe, with US. And when you combine it with our ambition in Central Europe to actually to chase the economies like Germany, like France, or US, for that matter, we've seen that we didn't have any choice actually than to work harder, and then we learn to work smarter because it's not only about hard work, it's mainly about smart work. So and you need to add to it also component which is quite characteristic, I think, for entire Central Europe, that we are very enthusiastic about let's say new technologies, right? So we are very keen to adapt, to try, to test. So that was very helpful. But on the other hand, we cannot also deny that we have a problem in demographics, right? So like, I think most of the, let's say, Western world or Asia, Japan, for example. So, that was a challenge, and that still is a challenge. So what we are trying to do, how we're trying to solve it, one of the most popular solutions for past 5 years are dual studies. So and cooperation between companies, but between manufacturing companies. I wouldn't call them SMEs. I mean, they are not very small, but let's say medium to, let's say, to mid caps. And there are both of Polish origin or foreign origin with foreign capital. There are more and more cases of cooperation with secondary schools, with universities, where you actually have, and this is also very popular in Germany, that you already have, you train. That's what Edward said, that the training departments are missing. So, and because of many SMEs, they're not able to afford, obviously, to have a training department. So they form very direct partnerships with high schools or with universities, and let people actually learn at the same time and work. So basically, they invest already in their future employees, and this is also valid for high-tech companies. I think right now, to my knowledge, I think 95% of IT related faculties, students are already working. So once you enter in university, there's a line of IT companies, both foreign and Polish, knocking to your door and say, okay, we have a job for you. So this is luckily, it fills this gap. It's not enough, obviously, because there are still hundreds of thousands of vacancies and especially in cybersecurity, we are also right now as in our network, we are very much involved in AIoT. So this combination of, let's say, AI in edge devices. So we're trying also support education in Poland in this area. So there is a bridge, let's say, that we are trying to build, and or has been built already. It's still not enough, but it's one of the I think major steps taken to patch the situation for now. But on the other hand, when we're talking about robotization and implementing of AI, there is a still huge gap, and we are lagging a little bit behind for very simple reason. I mean, we are so busy on trying to make let's say that the things work, that we don't have enough well prepared stuff to implement those digital solutions that could help us to grow. So we're kind of like spinning around at the same place, unable to make this very large move forward, and actually not move, maybe jump forward into a new environment, new working environment supported with AI and high level robotics. Because we are just catching up with this workforce that it's needed, but it's not allowing us to scale up in terms of employing very advanced technologies. So right now, I think let's say the way that we're going to be using to employ these new technologies will be similar. So the companies will be hiring the students, the young people that have some education in those new technologies in their secondary schools, universities, and trying to build that bridge step by step. Because otherwise, I don't see right now the possibility to make this huge jump into new technologies.
So yeah, thank you, Mark, for that. So looks like we're already entering the topic of not just hiring, but actually like some automation topics. So I have two questions. One actually to you, Marek, and then to Stanley. So the first question to Marek is, and you said it right, like organizations are busy just like solving the day-to-day problems, but looking mid and long term, like it's just about time to get serious about some automation, and we're talking like top of art automation. So from your experience, what is the like reasonable roadmap or like a good practice for, say, again, like the plant leaders? Is it does it start with like material handling or computer vision systems, or where basically, if I'm a manufacturer, where do I start looking into not just buying another machine, but actually having basically some high level automation and robotization? What is the automation one-on-one path from experience?
Okay, well, obviously, it will vary from case to case, and each company has different challenges. But I will tell you some of the stories from my experience. Actually, some extreme ones, and once I had a company that wanted to implement automation and some robots and more advanced machines. And when we went there, to make the first audit and to see actually what they need, it turns out that they were aiming too far away from what they were actually ready to do. So what they had to do first is to get rid of paper, get and clean their, let's say, their backyard and think about their processes, because they wanted to be very modern and say, okay, so which machine would you recommend to us, to improve productivity? And we sat with CEO and say, guys, you need to clean up your backyard first. You need to clean your mess that you have. You need to make the order. You actually have to think about your processes. And once you have done this homework, we can come back and help you with machines. So that's obviously, it's very extreme, but that's a real case that I've witnessed. So one thing. The second, I would say, use your brain and think and why? Because the next example I give you, there was actually several companies that we also was advising, and they were just so overwhelmed with those. It was a few years ago, with those cobots and robots that say, okay, well, let's jump on it. And plus there was some dealer of the machinery, and say, oh, well, you will need this machine and this and that, and they just simply over invested. And then was saying, okay, wait, but why is it not working? I mean, we have all these machines, but it's not giving us the right effect. And then that's why I said, you use your brain, because actually think twice before you really invest in technology. Think what you really need. And then I think the third component that is absolutely crucial, the management board is the owners, because in many cases, as at least in Central Europe, we have this very particular structure that the owner, which is very often is family business already for decades, he basically governs with his let's say own ideas the company, and everybody else follows. So what is very important, that this example needs to come from management. Okay, they
Gotcha.
need, and explaining people why these processes, why this machinery is so important, needs to come from them, and they need to work with people, because obviously, many of them are afraid of losing jobs and all that stuff. They don't understand that actually there can be a fantastic and beautiful balance between between people, and they are not replaceable, in my opinion, and the machinery that is going to help, but only help them and assist them, not to replace them, because people still will be needed in other, let's say, positions and other jobs. So you need to educate people. You need to first you need to educate yourself. I mean, you understand really deeply what the system is about, what are the long-term consequences, but also work with people and convince them that this is for their own good and the good of the company. So I don't know if that answers fully your question, but
Yeah,
this
I
is
would
my experience.
to really shrink it, I would say the management should educate themselves to begin with,
Absolutely.
and then like going down. So now switching over to Stanley, from your experience, question is more like there's this problem that I believe one of the problem your company is solving. There's typically there's multiple machines, the older ones, the new ones, the ones that the client hasn't yet fully integrated to the floor. So we have all these systems, and they live in silos. So what is your experience of solving this system that actually disconnected and not in this harmony between each other? So how does your company solve that, and what's your take on that?
Yes. First of all, I agree with Edward and Mark's commentary on the workforce development and automation challenges that every company faces, right? And it just goes hand in hand with each other, right? And that's what leadership management has to understand. You just can't solve one or the other. They go hand in hand. And that goes back to your question, Chris, is our comment of disconnected silos, right? That's where poor implementation happens, is people implement different types of systems to add a band-aid to their process that is broken, right? And then you get the disconnected silos, fragmented data collection, workforce processes, and everything like that, right? So that's where the challenges are in many industries, in every industry, right? You get the inconsistency of work that troubles the workforce, right? You have turnover because of it. Quality suffers. Then you get your customer satisfaction decline and all of that. So you really got to look at a whole holistic view and everything. At Jendamark, we really have seen that for over 30 years. We've experienced and designed, installed, and implemented component assembly lines, right? You just can't take a machine or a process and think you're going to make it automated instantly, right? You can't make that jump. That's not the proper implementation. You're going to fail at it. Many companies do. You have to take it slow and look at your semi-manual, manual operations. Those are where companies can succeed implementation on automation more successfully, I guess, because full automation costs a lot of money to do properly. And not every company has the capital to do it and assets to do it. So you really need to look at your semi-manual, manual operations and not go full automation. Because like you said, Mark and Edward, you don't want, you need skill force, you need labor force, and you're not really eliminating jobs. You're creating different jobs. So at Jendamark, we are taking that stance with our digital solutions of we're not eliminating jobs, we're upskilling them, right? Our solution is a no code environment. So we can train any operator to do those operation new jobs, type thing. So it's really important to take those disconnected systems, understand them properly, and connect them if you can. And there's now, Edward, you brought up AI. There's a lot of AI platforms, a lot of AI companies that are trying to connect those disconnected systems and fragmented systems. For us, Jendamark, we developed our own software called Odin Digital Solutions, 2 different types. And that's actually the solution. It implements AI as well, vision systems and all of that. It's agnostic to all the tools, but it connects it to be one system. It's not just different silos. So
that's
I think
actually
that's
my second question to you, Stanley, about so once we hire or train the right people, once we have at least the basic stuff cleared out, so there's less mess in the business. Now I guess, and that takes years. I'm hearing it's a long term. It's actually a never-ending process to have a clear processes in the line. But then we are in 2026 and AI is coming to the stage. And we have a research that says that 78% of manufacturers struggle to connect advanced AI tools with their ERP systems and shop floor equipment. So a lot of people still like doing spreadsheets and emails and papers and all of that. So that means that the shop floor is actually passive, so it can signal something is wrong. There can be like a warning here, information there, but the machines are not making much decisions. It's all about the operators and the team. So question is, what is actually the roadmap for the teams and for the operators to offload some of the decisions, so that instead of just reading lamps and reading warnings or reading signals, they actually will coexist with some sort of artificial brain that is going to make some decision. Is it realistic? Is it on agenda yet? Like, is it possible? What are some approaches there to really utilize the best of AI? And again, question to Stanley this time.
No, you're absolutely correct. AI is it's good and bad at once, right? AI is still garbage in, garbage out, right? And that's what everyone needs to understand. Still, data in, bad data in, bad data out. It's still the same concept as it was back in the day, type thing. So I think that's where the misconception is with AI. right? People will say they want to implement AI to help with the data collection, with analysis and stuff like that with operators, but you're not collecting good data to enter in the AI, and you're still going to have the same problems as it ends. So you really have to concentrate on collecting the right data, the proper data, good data first. That is a first step to understand what data collect and how to do it properly. Then you can use AI to your advantage for that. Along with that, you need to understand the interaction with the operator or the worker with the data, right? And developing that collaboration, if you will, right? It brings us to Industry 5.0, where it's machine and operator interface, type thing, collaboration. And that's where Jendamark, we've taken that step. We are the enforcement layer of data and operator, right? We don't have those systems right now. Historically, we always had disconnected, fragmented systems that collect data once. You have to wait weeks to analyze the data and go back and tweak it later, a week later, and you got your quality problems downstream. At Jendamark, we did find a solution, and it's live, and we interact, and we're the enforcement layer operating system of a manufacturing line right now, where we collect the data, we analyze the data, we instruct the operator what to do next, make sure the operator does the step correctly, validate it, and lets it proceed to the next step. So it only allows a good process, a good part to go on to the next step. It won't allow a bad part to go to the next step and allow downstream problems. So the future that you're asking about is here. I don't want to do a whole sales pitch on it, but Jendamark has done that. And, from my 30 plus years experience in manufacturing and engineering, that is the next evolution that is needed in the future of every manufacturer, because we all face the challenges of that. Are we collecting good data? Are we not doing it? We want to implement AI. How do we collaborate with the operator, right, successfully? And many manufacturers can't afford going automated, and you don't want to eliminate jobs, right? So you go manual operations with some automation. So it's a combination of all of it.
Love it. I have this picture of an orchestra, and then in the central place, the conductor with a button. So it's actually hard, because it's not just a guy that dictates. It's actually a guy who he's listening and he's reacting, and that harmony isn't easy. It's a whole skill. So
absolutely.
Switching to Ed, you said we have this big job problem and training problem, and I guess we haven't touched it, but there's coming demographic problem, just right, if there is not enough problems. So it sounds like the machinery controlling, and then at some point AI, it sounds like we already creating new jobs, and we haven't yet trained our workers to the ordinary jobs that we still struggle to find them and hire them. So is AI actually bringing this new problem of we can find the people that we need, and now we're still struggling to find the new roles? So we are actually doubling our hiring problem. What's your opinion on how to symbiotically or with some balance solve our workforce and training problem for this new new era to come?
All right. There's a macro economic problem here and a micro economic problem. Stanley is doing what needs to be done within a company. You need to do task analysis, integrate it with restructuring a job, and how to use then IT, automation, AI, whatever term you want to use, to get the job done in a way that creates a better performance, more productivity, and more profit for the business. These have been true ever since I entered this field. The problem And companies were doing that in the 1990s into the 2000s. And then they believed that the technology by itself could do all of this. All you had to do was get the technology, put it out there, and instantly it would produce more productivity, more higher performance, and bigger profits. Didn't work. All right. So within companies, it's in many ways a top-down problem. If the top management understands this, then they gradually do the spade work that Stanley was talking about to implement a systemic change. It requires collaboration within the entire business and within the community, because it is of no value for the company to do all this and then they can't find a large enough pool of workers who want to do the work. If the workers don't have the basic education, have learned how to learn, so they are willing to learn new things. That's a lot of people. There are a lot of folks out there that are afraid of learning because they did very badly in school and they don't want to look foolish. But then again, some companies just said, well, that's fine. We'll move it to Germany where there's a lot of high-tech people. We'll move the manufacturing somewhere else where we can find pools of highly trained people and we don't have to do the training ourselves. And that was done here in the US. All right. So how do you change that? Well, partly is what Stan was doing. And my company, Imperial Consulting Corporation, set up procedures like that with manufacturers, railroads, and others to gradually integrate the workforce and the technology and the training all to work together. We did that in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s. And then what became apparent to me in the work that I did, our company did in its research, we had communities calling me and saying, Ed, all the young people are leaving our region, the small businesses are disappearing, and the tax base has gone to hell. We want to organize something to change that. So we began to work with communities on the East Coast, in the Dakotas, in California, in Illinois, to help them set up collaboratives between businesses, school systems, of the local workforce board that they had, economic development, to change that. We called them retains, Regional Talent Innovation Networks. And the US is a vast country and the conditions are different across America. So these retains, such as High School Inc. in Santa Ana, California, and others, design programs that would gradually retrain their older workers to use these new technologies, work with elementary and secondary schools to make sure that more kids came out of high school who actually had good reading and math skills and writing skills, and then worked with local technical community colleges and universities to continue post-secondary training, and unions and others to do apprenticeship training so that it would meet a wide variety of needs. The problem here is not just manufacturing. We're short right now 450,000 doctors in America, over 500,000 nurses, and those skills are much higher. And guess what? The situation is going to get a lot worse. All right. So that's the macro problem we have. All right. In the 90s, there were books written and people in business talked about the learning organization, that companies had to constantly learn how to use new technologies, and that their employees were their most important assets so that they could learn how to use this and better use advanced technologies to increase performance, productivity, and profit. Well, now we've turned our back on that and we've said, no, we really don't need that. AI will solve all these problems. We can get rid of all these workers. And we don't have to worry about the techno peasants anymore, the people who struggle to learn. Wrong. Sorry, that's not working. That's one reason why you see huge amounts of money, trillions of dollars being thrown into AI right now, and yet the productivity and performance improvement and then profit is miserable. And it's creating a big bubble here in America that a lot of people are worried about. Now, that's not the purpose of this conversation. I understand that. But it comes back to manufacturing in many ways. And it comes back to the people, the workers who have to produce the product and how to use the tools. So what Stan is talking about and what Mark has talked about historically affects the world, not just America, not just Chicago. Chicago had large numbers of small manufacturers. That has dramatically shrunk. Chicago has major economic problems because our economy is not growing. A lot of those businesses have died or left. We can't afford that. We need a better educated workforce in the Chicago metropolitan area. We need it in New York, LA. You need it in Poland. You need it in Germany. If we're going to use AI to produce more productivity and profit. So it can be done. Retains were set up across America under many different trade names, not just High School Inc., the Vermilion Advantage, and many other collaboratives. That has been frowned upon as short-term profit taking, said we can eliminate the worker, we can eliminate training and education as a cost, and we can increase our profit without developing our workforce. That now is coming home. Those canaries are singing in the coal mine, folks. And we are now beginning to see that we have to come back to a more balanced approach if we are going to create a collaborative approach to using advanced technologies. And it can be done. It is being done, but it is not systemic. And we need to embrace it and recognize it and understand how wonderful this technology can be for us if we work to develop it and our population and workers. And that is the fundamental issue that we are choking on right now. People just don't want to recognize that they have to make those investments in their kids, more homework, higher standards in school, maybe a little less athletics, and getting them to be able to read, write, speak better than they have so that they can go into these professional areas as a skilled technician in a manufacturing establishment, building a plane for Boeing, working in a hospital, or repairing your plumbing and electricity at home. This is where we're at now worldwide. So, and it can be done at the local level to start, and then within the companies by themselves cannot do this all alone. Boeing cannot do it. Stan's company all by itself can't do it. This is a systemic challenge that we have to recognize. Rises above politics, national groups. It is if we're going to fully embrace the fourth industrial revolution, this is what we have to do. And we are not doing it now. We're only talking about it. We've been talking about this for 20 years, and not enough has been done. And as a result, we have major economic problems now worldwide that we need to look at. But it all comes back to what we're talking about right now.
Love it. Thank you, Ed. I guess it's a great summary, and I see it's dramatic, but there's some hope.
There is. Yes.
Last but not least, we would like to bring to the stage our audience, actually. So it's our fourth section, but as I said, the probably the most important, which is Q&A. I just have a quick question from my team and ask to click a link and fill the survey in the chat So that way you get the interactive summary of this section from us that we prepared for you guys. And without further overdue, also use the chat to your advantage, because we're going to look into chat to see some of the questions I see. There is one question from George. Do you want George me to read it, or do you just want to like add some context so we can have some interaction here? I can read it, but if you want, it's from George Altman. Can we? Yeah.
I mean, I can.
Yes, we can hear you.
During the discussion, Mark mentioned, and a few of you maybe chimed in, about thinking through processes first before implementing automation and so forth. I'd like you to understand more about that. I'd like you to expand on what you mean. Go a little deeper into that.
Okay.
If you would.
Sure. I mean, just very clearly, it also comes from our experience on advising the companies, and as I said, it will be case by case. There are so many differences even within the same industry, but well, I think there are a couple of areas that you need to look at. First, obviously, are any bottlenecks. Any places where your manufacturing process or in large entire business process of your company gets stuck, whether this is customer support, or this is manufacturing, or this is delivery, or this is internal logistics, whatever it is, right? But again, to what Stanley said, garbage in, garbage out, right? So you really need to get your data, and how you do it, that's yet another discussion. What types of tools are you going to use? Obviously, you can measure it by hand. I mean, obviously, there's I think very important consideration to make. Don't over invest at the beginning with the too sophisticated tools that you are not capable to master, because when you start with them to let's say to analyze the data, to collect data, the only thing that you can be assured of that you're going to get frustrated and you're going to come to conclusion that this doesn't work, right? So but because the approach was wrong from the beginning. So first, adapt the tools to your situation, to your technological advancement, to advancement of your team, to your own knowledge. Try to match it with let's say with the tools that are adequate to your situation. So first of all, good mapping of all processes on every step of your organism, which is the company, right? Then when you come up with the bottlenecks, with the pain points, then you see, okay, whether this is in a manufacturing, is it really in a manufacturing, or this is internal logistics, or maybe it's not really manufacturing process, but only what just happened not a long time ago. It turned out that the biggest problem in an entire company was the route of the two transporting vehicles within the shop floor, that they were making, spaghetti circles. And it was enough as a first step just to stick the tape on the floor and make the right route for these two vehicles. Guess what? It improved the productivity already by over 15%. Just duct tape and using your brain. No special, no new machines, no new robots, nothing. Just analyze where you wasting your time, and and actually creating hazard for your employees. So this is I could go on like this, and I just don't want to take too much time. But just this is very basic example. To simplify, I would say Get rid of paper first, then jump to Excel. When you master your Excel, then you go further. Don't jump from paper to AI because it's not gonna work. You know, you need to be prepared. You need to prepare your people, like my predecessor said. It's a process.
So,
Can I?
if I may add, I'm sorry, Edward, go ahead.
It's part of strategic planning,
Yeah,
short term, long term,
absolutely.
and then restructuring, studying tasks, and restructuring jobs so that the workers can use the tool, the new tool, AI, whatever it is, to better get the results you want, both short term and long term. And companies have stopped doing that. It's all short term. Everything is short term.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Yes,
that just isn't going to
absolutely.
work. And now we're paying the price for it. All right. There's chaos and too much. Well, a lot of reasons there's chaos, but that's one of the reasons.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
One thing that I just could like summarize whatever I had to use Kaizen. And this is also very important because like you already Edward said and Stanley, people are afraid of changes. People are afraid of learning and they get very quickly discouraged. But really, when you use the Kaizen concept of making small and almost invisible steps, you're gonna win your team, and you're gonna, and after a year you can say to your people, you see, it's possible, we've done it. But you cannot just overwhelm them with too much of the new things. Sorry.
Could I
right.
give you
So,
one? Could I give you? I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'll stop. Go ahead.
yeah, no, I agree with Edward and Mark's comments, but going back to your question, George, about the first steps of understanding what processes to automate. The first thing that you want to really think about is operator safety and operator repetitive, high repetitive operations and steps. Those two things are the first things you ever look at when you want to start thinking about automation, right? Before you even do your time studies and everything else, those are the two main things to look at first. Then you do your time studies. You see where your wasted time is, like Mark was saying, and what Edward was implying. But the first two steps is looking at worker safety in the operation, along with their highly repetitive operations.
Let me give you a concrete example, though, to apply what we just said. I'll make this very short. Manufacturer, chemical of home cleaning products. Mix the chemicals, make the plastic container, the labels, the whole bit. They're going to automate the whole process. Have a workforce, very steady, hardworking people. They throw it all in there. Doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? Well, guess what? The people needed to be trained into the system. So we spent a year working with this manufacturer to do this. Results were fantastic. People were not threatened by it. The training worked. The automated system worked. The profits skyrocketed. All right. And I can give you more examples of this. But again, it's a question of integrating the task, what you need done, with the worker who is going to perform the task using the technology. The technology is junk if it doesn't have a knowledgeable worker behind it, operating it. That's something that people don't. Technology does not think. It performs tasks. It's programmed. But the tasks have to be determined and manipulated, and by the worker, the knowledge worker with the new technology can do some really new things that maybe no one thought was possible. So you can come up with something new. Isn't that wonderful? Innovation. But it takes a brain, a human being that's trained to do that. And that's where we're falling down on the job right now, preparing younger people to become trainable, and then to do that training. And this is continuous. Technology is going to continue to go upward. You know, I'm a Star Trek fan. I want warp drive. All right. But how are you going to get that if you have people who are afraid to learn, who have a weak education, and then we don't constantly help train them so that they can move around within a company? Okay. And don't tell me, oh, if we train people, they'll go somewhere else and work somewhere else. Those days, that's small thinking now. There's nowhere to go. We need these people. Everyone needs them. Okay.
I see a question from Amir. So I just, because I promised this part also for the audience. So Amir, yeah.
Hi. I don't want to take too much of your time, and I think you guys pretty much hit it right on the head. As a high school teacher in Central New York, we have one of the highest childhood poverty rates across the nation, and they are promising Micron coming here, and it's kind of like putting all our eggs in one basket. But like, as I'm trying to kind of do the best I can with getting the kids on level for reading, math, everything like that, just working on the soft skills. Just like, okay, now that you're trained, like if you don't even show up to work on time, like you're not going to be marketable anywhere. Like how, I guess my question is, like, as a teacher, like, how do I kind of do the best I can with like what I have to work with?
That's a great question, Amir. That's $1 million question. Soft skills are important, right? As you know, it's a a skill that is very hard to teach, as you know yourself. So it is really trying to instill some communication practices on them to understand, to be transparent, to listen. It's more of those type of soft skills that I feel some workforce is lacking in the professional area. You know, they kind of just solely focus on themselves or on social media. They're not listening to the supervisor or the leadership or management. They're just solely focused on them. They're not listening. And when they do talk, they're not communicating smoothly or clearly what they are thinking. So I think that is kind of where I would take the soft skills at, is communication and listening first and foremost.
One of the communications that is effective is with the parents of the students. I was dealing in a region, I won't tell you which one, where the manufacturer had set up a program to better prepare high school students, a special program in high school, and then on-the-job training, and then the person would be in an advanced manufacturing plant. We needed the support of the parents in the community to get more kids into that program. I talked about this, and I said to them, if we don't get more kids in the program, the manufacturer is going to leave. The parents got very angry at me, started throwing chairs around. One man got up who worked for the manufacturer. He said, I've been at this in this plant for years. Dr. Gordon is right. Your kids need more reading, more math, more science. Support it. Support the idea they need a better education. Don't dumb down the community. Raise your standards, and people will get better jobs. These jobs that they were offering paid $90,000 if the student finished the process. This was very sophisticated advanced manufacturing. So I sympathize with the teacher, but that's why it's a community effort. A school, a teacher by itself can't do this all alone. Neither can the manufacturer all alone. People have to recognize where we're at in a high-tech society. We need more of these better educated people. This is not an elitist message. people. This is not a Republican or Democrat message, a socialist, a libertarian message. This is a message for the 21st century workforce. People have to understand that. Okay.
So Edward makes a great point. Amira, I think also what I would suggest to make that initiative help or work is to collaborate with the community companies and manufacturers and everything. Have them come into your school. Play some scenarios out with the students of what their daily tasks are, what they do, what they communicate to each other. I think that is important to help grab that community inside the school as well to illustrate what they're going to be expected to have and associate with. I think that would be key as well.
And also talk to the parents.
Yes.
People don't understand the jobs of today. They really don't. And or they stereotype what the job is and whether or not their kid can do it. And so this is in a way a cultural problem more than a manufacturing problem or educational problem. It's really upgrading the culture from farming to technology, now to advanced technology. And we're still stalled in the 20th century. And we got to move this now. We have to move this now.
There are two things that I would like to add. First, coming to what Edward said, if you're afraid of training people and what happened when they go away, you should be more worried what you're gonna do when you don't train them and they will stay. So that's the first thing, and because there where problem starts. But Amir, just a little thing from our experience, because we've been also involved in many educational projects for smart manufacturing industry 5.0 as a as a company. One thing that worked very much in our programs are so-called simulations, especially with young people. What you do, you simply get a group and then you simulate the tasks. You divide the group and assign the task of management or higher of the board of the blue colors and the white collar, like you make the entire company structure, you give them the task. And then so you put them in a situation that they must communicate. There is no other way. Okay. And then what is important to make it in a way that people will rotate. So everybody will understand. And we took it actually as an example from Japanese culture, where the white collar people are coming down to the production line and they're asking actually, the people that are standing at the line say, okay, what doesn't work? So that was basically the concept that we took to our educational programs and we implemented. And we were trying always to rotate people so they experience many different positions. They experience many different, let's say, benefits, but also responsibility. How you need to communicate to others so they do actually what you want them to do or what company wants them to do, right? So, and I think obviously there is the best way of learning by doing, right? So obviously you at this stage, at least to give young people a sense what it is to be a boss, but to be responsible, to take responsibility over everything, on how many things you actually need to think to make it work, right? So then you think twice before you think, oh, I want to be in management board. Well, maybe not. So, but just obviously you need to come up with your own, and obviously there are hundreds of scenarios that you could use, right? And you need to adapt it to your group and the conditions that you're working with. But I think this could also encourage young people to use their soft skills because they have no other choice.
Yeah.
I'm being asked for just to do a quick wrap up because we are slightly above the time. I'm just quickly gonna comment, Amir. Also, I'm a father of 3, and yesterday was a back to school night all 3 kids in the elementary, and elementary is about this triangle. So it's a parent, teacher, and a kid. I believe in the high school, I'm still like, I can tell from my memory, it's awesome when actually there's some guests coming to the school and sharing their story, sharing their perspective. So I don't know what like resources do you have and what school can do, but if you can somehow pull this off and actually bring people from the businesses, that will be like the companies will hire the best people, and these people will start to have just the right perspective. What can be next for them? So giving that perspective will be. I know it's hard because companies are busy, but at the same time, that will be. If you're looking for like one takeaway, that will be my takeaway to create not a triangle but a rectangle. And with that, there is a wrap up. So like again, like I would like to totally thank all our amazing guests, Ed, Mark, and Stan, for joining the community and sharing your experience. This is our second webinar, so we're just warming up. There are gonna be more, so please expect. The discussion gonna continue and improve from there. I just want to remind, if possible, for you guys to spend like 30 seconds on our quick form or survey. That will help our team to improve the formula and come up with probably like even better form for the better one. And with that, again, like totally thank you for sharing. I know there's like never enough time, but that's why we're gonna have another webinar for all the folks and all the speakers. So I hope some of you have your takeaways already, and let's stay in touch. We are here. Like, feel free to reach to Edward. Feel free to reach to Marek, to Stanley. If you need contacts, I will help facilitate that because we're building community here.
Absolutely.
And great questions, and I really like Amir, your questions as well. I love you. So with that, I'm probably just gonna over to Tom, who started this, and that's a wrap up.